Hi everyone, it's Nicole here from Baby to Sleep. So, it's been a while since I did an update on where we were at with our journey to a better night's sleep with Alyssia. And this is the final instalment. And I've got a lot to tell you. And when I say I've got a lot to tell you, I've got to tell you in the sense of what I've learnt, what we overcame, and there's a lot of things that I think you will benefit from, and it'll give you an idea what to expect on your own personal journeys with your little ones as well, if they are going to go through a similar thing, which, to be fair, they all get out of the cot eventually and we all have to put them in a bed, and if they've got siblings they may need to share a room with them, and if they are breastfeeding, their chances are they will have to stop at some point. Or if they're sharing a room with you, they may leave the room with you at some point as well. So there's been a lot of things that we've gone through. I've learned a lot about myself on this journey as well. And I think you will find it really, really helpful. Also, to know that actually we all have bad days and we are only human, and do you know what, we just make up for it and it's okay. You'll get what I'm on about in a minute. So for those of you who don't know, I'll just give you a very quick recap. So where we were at the beginning of the year. So Alyssia was 20 months and was she 20? No, 21 months. And she decided that she was going to become a climber and she could climb out of her cot. She was in a cot in the bedroom with me. My husband was sleeping on a mattress on the floor upstairs. We have one of them silly houses that's got 2 bedrooms on 2 floors, which is just absolutely stupid. Didn't think about that when we bought it, obviously. So didn't have kids then. So Alyssia was in with me because my husband's now an parasomniac, basically because of what we think is potentially sort of PTSD, really, a little bit of trauma from our experience with Sophia, who was just so bad. Such a bad sleeper, hence why I do what I do now. So this is why I couldn't get this wrong. I had to get this right and I had to trust my own instincts. And yeah, make some big changes so we didn't go through what we went through before. So Alyssia was in with me because we didn't want to disturb Sophia's sleep too much. She was in a cot and she was breastfeeding, and you know what, it wasn't really that much of an issue because he was upstairs. He wasn't really sleeping, but it was getting better sleep than he would have been if he got woken up in the night by Alyssia. So she'd wake up and I'd just feed her and she'd just go back to sleep, and that was fine until she became a climber. And then it wasn't fine because it was like, well, no, we can't have that now, because if she wants to get out of the cot, she can get out of the cot. So we said, right, okay, I'm going to have to sort this out, and we needed to get her sleeping through the night because she'd never done that before. That also meant really needing to get her off the breast, because as much as you can get your child to sleep through the night and still breastfeed, the issue I had was the fact that she was going to be coming into a room with her sister. So if she was waking up and wanting that feed during the night and she was screaming, she could wake Sophia up, and that's something we didn't want. So we knew that we needed to stop breastfeeding. We needed to get her sleeping through the night before we could transition her to the toddler bed in her sister's room, because again, we didn't want too much of a disturbance to Sophia. So we did that. We got the breastfeeding stopped, we got her sleeping through, and then we moved her into the toddler bed. We moved her into the toddler bed a bit earlier than what I planned to do, because she actually got really, really excited about it. The whole point really was meant to be, my plan at the beginning, if you watched my first one, the plan was basically let her test it out, maybe do a nap, but no, she decided that was where she wanted to sleep. But we kept the cot up, and that's been something that has been a lifesaver throughout all of this, because it's meant that if we've had a problem in the night, rather than trying to fix it in the room while we've been going through all of the issues and the transitioning, I've been able to take her out of here into my room and put her in the cot for the rest of the night, so we've not been messing with Sophia's sleep. All in all, by the way, it took us 6 weeks to do it. So we've gone from waking multiple times in the night, breastfeeding in a cot in my room to in a toddler bed, sleeping through the night in a sister's room with no breastfeeding. Took us about 6 weeks to get there quite comfortably. I will say now, it's not perfect. Nothing ever is. She cries in the night in her sleep quite a bit, but again, I think some of that's a bit of an overtired thing. I'll explain. And this is something that will happen when you've got 2 children that you need to put to bed, yourself on your own, which have got different ages and different bedtimes. So it can cause a bit of an issue, but I'll talk to you a bit about that in a bit. So you'll understand if you've got 2 children, you'll figure out how to kind of put them to bed together, and sometimes it's a bit of a balancing act. It is what it is. So that's kind of where we were, and that was why we needed to change things really. But what's happened within this 6 weeks, we've had to so basically in that 6-week journey, we had sickness bugs, we had hospital trips because we had the ambulance out because Alyssia's temperature was spiking, she had blue lips, all these types of things. It's been a real flaming journey. So we've had sickness bugs, diarrhea problems, we've had coughs and colds and all sorts of things that have really impacted sleep. We've had the speech development, which has just been utterly incredible. It's like, and this happens, by the way, when children get to around that 2-year-old point. She's 2 on Tuesday. When children get to that 2-year-old point, you start getting normal sleep issues because they go through big speech and language development. That affects sleep. They start becoming more independent and wanting to be a bit more independent, and they start pushing those boundaries. They want to try and get a little bit more control. They realise that they've actually got some kind of control over you, so they start to push how far they can actually take things, and it's all good fun for them, but it can be quite overwhelming. So if you've seen any of the courses that I do, I've got the behaviour and sleep support guide, which is 20 months to 6 years, and it's very much because everything changes at this sort of point. Normally, it's not anything's gone wrong with your child. It's totally normal to get pushback and behaviour issues and tantrums and all these types of things at this age. And it all tends to have an impact on sleep. So we've gone through all that at the same time as well. So we've had a lot to deal with. Plus, we've had 4 molars come through in the last 6 weeks as well, in the last 2 months. So it's been, honestly, it's just been unbelievable. So we've had the nap resistance as well, because obviously it's different. It's in a bed, and actually I want to go and play. No, I don't want to have a nap. It's just, honestly, it's been unbelievable. But if you've watched some of the stuff, you'll know with regards to the type of journey that we've been on, it's very much been ups and downs. Okay, yes, we're at the end now. We get our normal toddler tantrums. We get the normal, I'm really, really tired and I don't want to get into my pyjamas tonight thing going on, where you're kind of going, tough luck, kid, you are getting into your pyjamas and you are going to bed. We have all the normal stuff now, and that's fine. What we did have, though, on this transition was a very difficult journey. I'll be honest, nobody normally in their right mind would make the amount of changes that we made in one go. It was just, unfortunately, it was the circumstances that led us to have to do this. She was too young to go into a bed, really. Really, the actual average age cognitively for going into a bed and understanding the concept of staying in bed is 2.5. So, you know, I think I've done all right in where we are really right now. So you don't normally make these changes so young, and to obviously make these dramatic changes to stop breastfeeding, to get her sleeping through, to move her into a room with her big sister, who she absolutely adores, into a toddler bed is just, it's a huge thing, and it really was not without its problems. But what I have learned, I've learned a lot about myself throughout this journey. So there was moments where, if you've watched any of the videos, you'll see there was one where I was very, very honest in the fact that we'd had a very, very bad experience where she was just not going to sleep, and I ended up putting her in the cot, and I was just outside the room. I was virtually in tears myself while she was just screaming. it was horrendous. And I've experienced things where I've been shouting as well because I've been getting so frustrated because she needs to go to sleep. Do you know what I mean? She has to go to sleep. She needs that sleep. And I know that if that sleep doesn't happen, the nights are worse. And the panic, I think a lot of it is the panic that sets in because, oh my God, she's going to wake her sister if she's up in the night. She's going to be screaming in the night. And my husband's got his issues with his sleep. It's going to be waking him up, and the panic sets in. And I think when the panic sets in, you become naturally more stressed, and it's harder to manage your emotions. By the way, totally normal for children if you think about it like this. So we struggle as adults with our emotions and keeping them in check. Can you imagine what it's like for a 2, 3, 4-year-old, really, that doesn't understand the feelings that they're actually having, and dealing with overwhelm? And if their cortisol levels are high because they're overtired or because they're feeling really emotional, can you imagine what they're going through and how they really can't deal with that? Which is why the parental input is so important. But what I can say is, because I went on a journey where, I think because I was documenting it for you, it was really, really helpful for me to watch myself and see what I was really like, and was I coping, was I not? And actually, no, I really wasn't coping. So I had to do a lot of digging deep to sort of find ways to keep myself calm, because again, one of the things, and I say this to my families all the time, is if you as the parent are feeling stressed, or if you're shouting, or you're feeling really anxious, you're giving all of that off to your child, and they're feeding off it. So there's been quite a few instances recently, I suppose, where Alyssia's been really quite stressed and she's been really upset, and a lot of it's down to being really massively overtired, and having that natural thing of trying to sort of push those boundaries and see which buttons she can find on me to press, because Sophia used to find those buttons and then she'd find more that I didn't even know existed. She was just constantly pressing my buttons, and I didn't cope well with it because we were always so tired because her sleep was so bad. But this time I found ways to be able to sort myself out and say it's okay. And there's been points where she has been hitting me, and she's been really, really cross, and having that switch in your head to say, okay, it's okay. I'm not going to shout at her for hitting me, because actually she's not purposely out to hit me. She's not trying to attack me or something. She's not trying to hurt me. She's dealing with a lot of frustration, and she's feeling quite overwhelmed, and she's possibly a bit angry that she isn't necessarily getting her own way with things, but she doesn't really understand what the anger is. She's just got something that's raging inside her, and she doesn't know how to actually get that out. So really, if you think about it, where's the safest place for your child to let everything out? With the person that they're closest to, that loves them unconditionally. So there has been points where I've just literally wrapped my arms around her while she's kind of going for it and just said, it's okay. It is, I'm here, I've got you. It's okay. I know you're so tired. I know you're angry. I know you're frustrated, but it's okay. Mummy's here and Mummy loves you. And it's very, very hard to do, and it's taking me a lot of time to get there. I won't lie. It's a very, very difficult thing to switch from, especially if you're a highly strung person, which is me. As a highly strung person, it's very hard to go from to, no, I'm okay with this. I get it. It's okay. This won't last. And having that really good understanding can make a big difference as well in how you deal with those things. So we've had all that, and to be fair, the worst situations really are sometimes when she's overtired, trying to get pyjamas on at bedtime. Naps, they're not fun, but we get there eventually, and she's quite determined in telling me where she wants me to sit, but I won't stay in the room anymore. We've got to the point where I do put her down in the bed, and I tell her I'm going outside the room, and she's not overly happy with me about it, but I just say, it's okay, I'm not going anywhere, I'm just outside. And I do stay outside. I get the monitor, put it on silent, and I just watch to make sure she's staying in her bed. And it just means that if she is upset about something, I can come back to her as well and get her into bed. So yeah, we have got to the point where I can literally put her down in a bed and I can go, which is really quite nice. Naps, I'm a bit more, naps I'll tend to sort of stay in the room sometimes a little bit more for naps, because they tend to be harder. Bedtime's easier for our children to go to sleep because it's natural. It's the most natural time of the day to go to sleep. And they've got hormones that help, and they've got that routine that takes them there as well. Naps are not natural. They're not a normal part of our day. And they're, you know, why would a toddler want to go and nap in the middle of the day when there's so much going on? So yeah, so there's always going to be a little bit more resistance to that. So yeah, for the now, I tend to stay in the room while she has that nap. She goes down for it, but generally night times are okay. So on to why we have a bit of a problem where she's waking up. We have two things going on at the moment. We have night terrors and we have nightmares. It's great fun. Now, the reason I know what's happening is because of the time of night that they're happening, and also because of how they link. So you have so your night terrors tend to happen more around 10-11ish. Okay, somewhere between 10 and 12, I would say, depending on what time bedtime is. So a few hours after they've gone to bed. Tends to happen more in the non-REM sleep. These are the night terrors, and they can be very much driven by overtiredness. They're one of the big triggers for night terrors, and that's what we've been having a few of at the moment. Then we also have nightmares. Now, the difference between night terror and nightmare is the time of the night. So your nightmares are more in your REM sleep, and it can be about 3-4ish in the morning, 3-4, 4:30, 5 o'clock, that type of thing. That's more when your nightmares are going to be happening. Now, it's funny because I've always been told dreaming or nightmares tend not to start till around 2 years old, and they tend to peak at 6. She's not even 2 just yet, and she is definitely having them because she wakes up about 4:30, something like that, sometimes 3, depends, and she's going, no, and she's definitely in that mode. It's not a night terror because of the time of night it is and the type of sleep it is. It's definitely the nightmare. So that can also be problematic. It's not fun. Luckily, so far, Sophia's managed to actually sleep through most of these. Actually, there's been a couple where she's woke up and been a bit disturbed, but generally she's sleeping through any of these night terrors and nightmares, which has been something that's quite remarkable. But it does show how deep a sleep that our young children can get into. But yeah, so that's something that we have had to deal with a little bit, but generally she goes back down and she's absolutely fine and dandy. The other thing I was saying about the molars coming through, so I didn't even realise that all 4 of her molars had come through until I needed to actually get into her mouth for something the other day. I can't remember what it was, and I felt and I went, right, that's the reason she's cranky. And I realised all 4 had come through, but they've all come through this year. So again, so she's got all of her teeth now, apart from the adult ones that she'll start getting when she's about 5-6 years old. But again, teething gets such a bad rap. Teething is the reason our children aren't sleeping. But is it? Because we've just had 4 molars come through, and I didn't even really know that they'd come through. And again, it's a difficult one because, again, if our children are massively overtired, they're going to feel the pain more because their cortisol levels are high. And if their cortisol levels are high, their pain threshold tends to be lower. So yes, teething may become more disruptive to sleep because they're overtired. If they're actually pretty well rested and they're not massively overtired as such, then their levels are lower, so their tolerance is better. So actually, they might not really notice it that much either. There is a video on teething on the YouTube channel as well, so subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get all the new videos that come through as well. There's loads and loads of useful videos, pre-bedtime routines, bedtime routines, choices and limit settings, something that's really, really important at this kind of age as well, the toddler age. These are really, really useful things, so by all means flick through the YouTube channel, and there's just loads and loads of free resources that are on there, so have a look and take advantage. But yeah, so teething, really, is it that big a thing? Not really. every baby is affected differently, but it's not months of pain. It's not something that takes forever, and it is a long-term disruption to sleep. But if you watch the video on teething, you'll get a better understanding of that. But yeah, so really, I think a lot of what we've been through is I've had to learn a lot about me, keeping calm, and again, trying to get the balance with 2 children. So Sophia's 6 now. Her bedtime generally should be 7:30 really for her. She can't really go later than that because she'll wake up earlier. So again, something to consider is we've had the fact that sometimes if Alyssia's bedtime's 7, or she needs to go to bed at 6:30, and Sophia's bedtime's 7:30, how do you get the balance? Because my husband teaches in the evening, so I am literally on my own. So this is useful for anybody that is on their own with 2 children. It's where do you put the shift? How do you get them both down at the same time or at different times? Because one of the other things that I've learned very much with Sophia is if I let her watch this television too close to bedtime, so if she's been downstairs waiting for me to get Alyssia to bed, even if she goes to bed at her normal time, if she's been watching screens, if she's been watching the television too close to bed, she will wake up earlier. Because again, the thing with televisions and screens is that gives off blue light, which blue light is an inhibitor of melatonin. So obviously it's making problems when we're going to bed, and it's obviously the cortisol levels are a little bit higher, which is then triggering some early rising. Great fun. So now I'm in a very much predicament where I can't really let her sit downstairs and watch the television while I get Alyssia to bed and then go down to Sophia and then bring her up, because then we've got the issues that actually she's going to start waking earlier. Not fun. So actually we've found that on the days when Alyssia needs to go to bed a bit earlier, what we've actually done is moved Sophia's bedtime earlier as well, so they both go to bed at 7. Not great for Alyssia really, and because obviously she's actually a bit overtired by then, hence what I was saying before. This seems to be the bit of a trigger we've got at the moment, which is causing these night terrors and nightmares, but the clock change is coming, so I'm hoping this is going to actually iron things out a little bit. There's a video on the clock change as well if you want to have a watch of that and how best to manage it. So yeah, so we've kind of, that's where we've been. So it's where do you get the right balance? So I've kind of just had to go down the route of bring them to the middle and put them to bed at the same time. Now Alyssia loves it, Sophia not so much because she wants her time with mummy, but unfortunately, and I've said this to her, if she can't actually sleep till morning, she hasn't got that choice. If she's not going to sleep till morning, she hasn't got a choice. She cannot go to bed at 7:30 her normal time if she's gonna be waking up early because I've let her watch the television. So we've had to kind of go a bit down that route, and it's not the end of the world. And to be fair, they both wake up at similar times anyway, so it's not too bad. They still need a good amount of sleep, both of them, throughout the night. But yeah, other times it's not so bad if Alyssia needs to go to bed at 6 or something, because if the naps have been rubbish throughout the day or she's been poorly, which is what we've been having, all these types of things, then yeah, Sophia can stay downstairs a little bit. But then we have the other battle with Alyssia because she wants Sophia. It's always good fun, isn't it, when you've got 2 children? No, is. That's what she calls Sophia. Is. No, Sophia has to go and do her schoolwork. Tends to work, actually. I have 2 things that seem to actually work. If she wants me to stay, if I say, well, mummy needs to go to the toilet, can mummy go to the toilet? She always says I can, and that's my get out. That's how I actually get out of the room, just by saying mummy needs to go to the toilet. She lets me go. And with Sophia, when she wants Sophia, by saying Sophia's got to do her schoolwork, she lets Sophia go as well. It's really bizarre, but just certain things seem to actually work. So it's finding what's going to work for you. But yeah, you can get them down. Try and avoid the screens if you can with them. If you have to sort of leave them separate, try and avoid the screens if possible. We tend to read the book together, so we'll get into Sophia's bed because that's just where Alyssia likes to be. So we get into Sophia's bed under her tent and we all read a story together. I've got to say, it's a bit, if you've ever read the book Squash and a Squeeze from Julia Donaldson, it is most definitely a squash and a squeeze. 3 of us in a single bed trying to read a story with a little nightlight under the tent. It's great fun with Alyssia kicking her legs and going, don't break the tent. Always good fun. But yeah, so we do that. So we come in, they get ready. Bath times are always fun. We do them every other night now. We read a story together, and then I normally have to grab Alyssia's feet and drag her out of Sophia's bed because she seems to think that's where she's going to sleep. And it's like, you're not sleeping in Sophia's bed. So the other thing actually that's very useful, right, so she was falling out of bed quite a bit, and I was noticing that the cover was falling off her because she was kicking around and things. So duvet clips here, you can actually work, these work really, really well. So you literally just slap them on. These ones, I'll find a link actually, because I actually really like them. I'll find a link for you and put them in. You can literally put them over. I'll show you. I wonder if I can move this down. Let's have a look and I'll show you the things. So get the cot protector. I've got the sheet and I've got the duvet, and I literally just shove that over there and clip it in. It's got no pins in it or anything, that one, which is great. And since I've actually put that on, since I've actually put the duvet clips on, I found that she is actually sleeping better because the cover's staying in place. So it's obviously a bit tighter, so she's not wriggling around as much. So she's actually staying in bed better, and she's sleeping better since I've added the duvet clips. So that's always something to consider as well. But make sure you do your research, because some of them you can't use on toddler beds, and some of them have got like pins and things in like that. So you just got to make sure you do your research. But these ones seem to be okay. But yeah, and another thing as well, if you've got plug sockets, this is also a nice little thing. We'll just move this here. Sorry, I have to excuse Minnie. This is where this is actually plugged into at the moment. So these here, if I press these, plug sockets in there, but she can't get in because you've got to press both sides at the same time to be able to open it. So if you are stuck with plug sockets and you need something to cover them up with, that's quite a nice little box. So I'm kind of getting sidetracked there, aren't I? So yeah, so it's been a journey. Is there anything else I wanted to tell you? Let me just check. It's definitely been emotional. Yeah, nothing's perfect. It never will be. Yeah, it's been interesting, and it's been a journey that it's had its highs, it's had its lows, and it's ended up being well worth doing. I've got my bed back. We have, you know, I've not got my husband back in yet, but that'll come soon. He's currently got COVID, so he's staying out of the way, but he'll be back soon, and we'll get rid of these night terrors. We'll get her back on track. We'll use the clock change to our benefit, and you know what, we are pretty much there. So it's nice. If you need my help, and this is the thing that's really important, don't expect the road to success to be quick and easy, because it isn't. It's a roller coaster that goes back on itself, and then it goes forward again, it goes upside down, it loop-de-loops, and we might fall out of the carriage every now and then, and we might catch ourselves on the way back round. It's absolutely fine, and it's totally normal. It's a journey, and you know what, life would be boring if our children just kind of literally did everything that we told them to do. It'd be nice if they did, but you know what, it's not reality. And as long as we're, as parents, able to accept that that is not going to be the reality, that is not normal for our children to just suddenly do what they're told to do all of the time, and we accept that we are going to have pushbacks, and that we know it's normal, and we have a toolkit available to us to be able to manage those situations, then yeah, it's going to make life an awful lot easier. If you are struggling, if you're wondering how on earth you're going to do this, by all means, have a look on my website, babytosleep.co.uk, drop me an email, nicole@babytosleep.co.uk, or hop over onto my Facebook page where I do live Q&As every Monday night at 8 o'clock, and let me help you on your journey to a better night's sleep. But that's me signing off on this journey for now. And you never know, there might be something else I need to talk to you about. Maybe I'll talk about potty training. That might be useful in the future. That's probably not too far away. The trials and tribulations of potty training. Let me know if you want me to do that. But if you want to go back and watch any of the other series, it's all there. You can watch the first one, see where we were, and pick some of the videos from in the middle, so you can understand it. It really has been a journey, but it's been one worth taking. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you soon. See you later. Bye.